Hello, welcome to the walkthrough for Bis Ich Komme. It's a track off my album Bloodsport that came out a couple of weeks ago. A few people were asking about like the production of certain tracks on it and the album in general, so I thought I'd do another one of these walkthroughs. I haven't done one in a while, but I thought, sod it, I might as well just do one and then just show you kind of how the whole thing kind of came about. It's one of those tracks that's quite emblematic of like the whole album, I suppose. There's a lot going on and there's a lot of sections in it, and it sounds a bit different to like other Satan productions, just because it's a bit heavier and it's a bit weirder. I'm kind of instead of like trying to taper my stupid ideas, I'm sort of letting them run riot. So the whole thing is basically split into kind of three sections. There's like a little intro bit. There's kind of a bridging middle section, and then there's a big, massive, like kind of sort of jungle third section, or like outro, I suppose. So the whole thing kind of came about. It was originally supposed to be part of a split with somebody, and I tweeted, oh god, it must have been a couple of years ago, about like trance has really, really good chord progressions, considering like everyone thinks it's a bit cheesy and it's a bit like daft and a bit silly, but the chord progressions in it are usually really, really good. So I tweeted this, and me and someone else like kind of hatched a plan to do a split, and it was basically going to be ambient music using chord progressions for trance stuff, like early 90s trance stuff. And it didn't really work out in the end. Like the whole thing kind of, we were both a bit too busy, and it kind of, I don't know, just kind of fizzled out. But I always had this idea, this like little scrap of an idea in my Ableton session. So when it came to like putting stuff together for for Bloodsport for the album, I thought I've got to use this one because I can have some real fun with this. So obviously, Bis Ich Komme translates from German to English as Until I Come. So the whole thing is based on ATB's 9 p.m. Till I Come, which you'll see in the kind of what I called it in the Ableton session anyway. But anyway, so if you want to play along with it or do a mashup, you can. It's essentially just the same chords, but just spun out into like kind of different things. But anyway, enough yakking. That's the kind of background behind the track. Let's kind of dig into it now. Okay, so here we go. This is a bit of a beastly one, to be honest with you. I mean, looking at all these channels, I usually work with about 10 to 15, if that, at the very, very max. But this is just like a monster. It's just filled with stuff. So the whole thing kicks off with this nice little kind of guitar droney thing. It's basically me kind of like messing around on with my kind of like guitar looper pedal. It's been processed through quite a lot of effects, and yeah, I just kind of let it spin out. This is the first pad. It's just 3 notes, but I added sort of a lot of stuff to make it sound a bit like gnarly and a bit like distorted. So there's saturated, some erosion, some reverb, obviously, and there's the original. I think it's just like from a sample pack, just some like quite nice ambience. So I thought like, yeah, that'll do. Let's crack some of this on. So that's, yeah, nice little pad, adds a bit of texture. There's a bit of a kick there from a Heinbach sample pack that was doing the rounds over lockdown, I think. But it's really good, so I just thought, like, do you know what, I'm gonna have a bit of this. That second pad that's just coming in, there you go. That's just some kind of another sample pack, kind of lighter ambient kind of loop. There you go. Sounds really nice. So I just thought, like, okay, let's destroy it a bit, and then add some stuff to it, and then it can like kind of just sit in the background. This is a funny one. You can't really hear this in the track that much, but it's just a bit of another sample pack. But I've just taken like a tiny bit of a little synth and just put in like a nice slow arpeggiator. But it sounds quite nice. So it kind of tinkles in the background. Some sort of burial-y style vocal effect. This is off a sample pack to do with shoegazers. Weirdly enough, there you go. Let's have a look. Let's bring it up. This is what it should sound like. So I pitched it up and then added a load of stuff and cut it up a little bit, but it adds a nice little kind of rhythm, nice little texture to the whole track. Especially in this first section. This is like the first kind of like more gentle section, I guess, to kind of like ease you in. Just a couple of kicks working quite nicely with each other. And then I kind of figured you'd all had enough of that by now, so I added this kind of drum loop, covered it in delay as a bit of a way to break up the kind of middle section and the first section. So this is kind of a nice little, just a you kind of standard, worried about saying post-rock guitar lead that kind of sits under that new beat to just mark the kind of ending of the first passage into the second. Bass just doing its thing, as usual. Yeah, so this just kind of like ticks along, and these two coming up are like just sections of EBO that I recorded. Then this is kind of like marks the kind of middle section. So this kind of comes to an end, and then the two EBOs come in. There we go. Listen to that. Listen to those. Lovely. I've panned them like left and right just to thicken up the sound a little bit. There you go. I love EBO. So like recording it's amazing because you can have some like real fun just like whipping out those notes and just like, yeah, really nice. So this is the kind of middle section, approaching the kind of the end section now, the kind of jungle section that's coming up. I love this bit. My little tribute to Ben Frost. I recorded it on the Yamaha Reface thing that you might have seen me play live with. It's like a little keyboard. There's just some like string samples, like kind of pitched up and down. Quite nice. But yeah, so the Frost thing is just like the Reface processed with loads of distortion and like moving up and down the transpose. There you go. That's the sounds really high, doesn't it? That's from a sample pack called Grime Vocals that you hear later on in the album on Slowly Words, but I added a bit into this one. Pitched it down. Here we go. What you all come to see, bit of jungle. There we go. I just thought, you know what? I'm just gonna add some jungle. Like, it's been a while. Yeah, so the Frost synth's really nice. I was watching the TV show Dark a lot that he did the soundtrack for, and it's full of those like horrible, like gnarly bass sounds like that. And I was like, oh, I've got to do something like that. So I kind of like experimented around and came up with that one. It's so good. Really enjoyed recording that. There you go. It just kind of rolls on like this now until the end. I kind of switch between two jungle breaks as well, just to add a bit of diverse kind of feel to it. There you go. Lovingly stolen from another jungle sample pack. I kind of edited bits and messed around. There you go. I did like a little flurry of snares. And then there's a second jungle. There we go. I added pretty much just the snares on this one and then EQ'd out the kind of kicks and put them with a really rhythmic delay. So you'd get that extra like kind of thwack of the the snare, just like that kind of like tinkers over the other one. So it kind of fills out the other jungle break, gives it a bit more like, ooh, what's that? There you go. We're kind of approaching the end now, and it just kind of like back to the other jungle break and the kind of frost synth and stuff. Kind of mess around with his vocal a little bit. It's quite nice to like mess around with vocals every so often. So it's that was good fun. And then the strings that I kept at the same kind of pitch, didn't pitch them up like the other ones. And then just had loads of fun with this jungle break with beat repeat, which is kind of messes things up, but in like a really rhythmic way. So I just thought like, sod it, will go out in like a big blitz of like jungle snares and like glitchy stuff going on. So this was really, really fun to like put together this end section. Listen, I'm like, whoa. Really went overboard on it, but like, you know, why not? And then on the album, the kind of that trails off into Sigourney Weaver, Fan Club President, which is the next track on the album. But yeah, so there you go. I mean, that was Bis Ich Komme. So like, just look at that. Wow, that's a big one. But yeah, so anyway, thanks very much, and yeah, I'll see you next time.